Hey there, if you are running your business on EOS and you are effectively running level 10 meetings, this is an opportunity to take your level 10 meetings to the next level. And so, as a leadership team or any other team and department running a level 10 meeting, you start with a segue. A segue is an opportunity to be open, to be honest, and to be vulnerable. It's an opportunity actually to build team health amongst that team. And so I always encourage teams that I work with to be vulnerable, share something that happened on the weekend, open up to the extent that you can be vulnerable, that you can open up and let people into your world, you will become a stronger team. And so be sharing that one piece of personal good news and one piece of professional good news. Keep your check-in high level. You don't want that check-in to go any longer than really 5 minutes for the entire team, but be prepared to share those two pieces of information with the team. Next, you go to your scorecard. Assuming you've built a really great scorecard, no more than 15 high-level weekly activity-based numbers, you want to be looking at that scorecard and just picking out the numbers that are red. What do we need to drop down? What do we need to make an issue? That 5 minute segment isn't an opportunity to start IDSing on the fly. You need to pick which of those numbers are off track, are red, drop them down, make them an issue so you can prioritize getting those numbers back on track. When you do get to the IDS portion of the meeting agenda and you're IDSing one of those scorecard numbers that isn't on track, a great framework to hold a team accountable is to say, why is this number off track? Get to the root cause. Figure out why that number is off track. Then ask the what question. What are we going to do proactively to get this number back on track this week? Lastly, you can ask a how question. How can we help you? We're a team. We love you. What can we do to come together to help you get this number back on track? And so the why, the what, and the how, great framework to hold your team accountable to making sure that those numbers are moving them back on track. For the scorecard review, you are going to review your rocks. When you're reviewing those rocks, a good rule of thumb is to be dropping down at a minimum 2 rocks every single week. And so as a leadership team that has maybe 6 company rocks, maybe have 6 individual rocks, if you have 12 total rocks, every single week you're dropping at a minimum 2 rocks down to give an update, to give feedback to one another. Those are your most important initiatives for that quarter. Make sure that you're taking the appropriate amount of time to keep those rocks on track, to get feedback, to give updates, and to move those rocks forward. Remember, 80% of your rocks getting done every single quarter is a win. From the rock review, you can look at your headlines. When you're doing headlines, it's great to inject some core value shout outs. If you can say, listen, Johnny just brought in a big contract. He was hungry. He went the extra mile to get that contract. Whatever your core values are, weave those in to your headlines so that you're touching on and you're reinforcing your core values every single week. Those are your headlines. From the headlines, when you're going to your to-do list, make sure that you're getting 90% of your to-dos done every single week. If you're not getting 90% of your to-dos done, you need to ask yourself, are we committing to things that are really important? If you have too many things that just aren't getting done, are these the most important things that we're committing to on a weekly basis? Another question to ask yourself is if a to-do should take a week. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks, but if you're committing to something that's going to take a month, 2 months, that's really a rock. You're accidentally committing to a rock in the form of a to-do. And so be careful not to commit to big initiatives mid-quarter in the form of a to-do. if you're going to commit to something and it's going to take a month, 2 months, it should really go back on your long-term issues list. And it's an opportunity to reprioritize when that does become a rock. Now, once, maybe a year, maybe twice a year at most, you have a realization that this needs to become a rock. And that's the exception, not the rule. And as a leadership team or department team, you need to ask yourselves and agree that, yes, this is a big initiative. Maybe we did miss this and this needs to become a rock. But make sure that those to-dos aren't really to-dos in disguise of a rock. And so also ask yourself, is this the right team to handle this to-do? Should we be moving this to another team? And so those are your to-dos. From your to-dos, you're going to jump to your issues list. It's a great opportunity to slow things down in the meeting and say, are there any other issues that we need to get on this issues list that aren't already on the issues list? Every single team member should be walking into that level 10 meeting with an issue, a problem, a challenge, an idea that they want to solve that week. This is your opportunity as a leader to bring an issue, to bring an idea to that level 10 meeting and get solved that week. So make sure that everyone is adding issues, everyone is adding ideas, opportunities. And so once you're looking at that list, it's another great opportunity to slow down and say, all right, we have 20 issues on here. What are the top 3 things that are going to move the needle, that are going to make the biggest difference, that are going to make the impact that we want to see? Right? It's not just solving the easy ones. It's not solving the quick ones. If we're here as a leadership team, if we're here as a department team, what are the things that are going to move the needle? And then making sure that you pick those 1, 2, 3, the top 3 issues that are really going to drive the impact that you want to see. When you set up issue number 1, make sure that you're identifying. Make sure that you're really truly getting to the root cause before you just start discussing. And so it's also helpful to use a framework to tee up your issues. And so one example of a framework is to articulate the issue in one sentence. The issue is we need to sunset this piece of equipment. Then in one sentence, articulate what you need from the team. This is just an FYI. I'm just giving the team an update that we're sunsetting this piece of equipment. So an FYI, is it feedback? I need feedback from the team around how I'm going to handle this. Or are you making a decision? We need to decide, and I brought some information, some reports, some data. We need to decide whether or not it makes sense to sunset this piece of equipment. And so get clear on what you need. Is it an FYI? Do you need feedback from the team? Or are you making a decision? So once you're in IDS mode and you're clear on what the root cause of the issue, an issue well identified is often half solved. Then we can discuss having open, honest, vulnerable conversation. From there, we have to move to a solve. And when you're solving, we agree on a plan of attack. This is what we're going to do. And someone agrees to take action. That should then become a to-do. Don't just let that float away. Make sure that you commit to whatever you just agreed upon as a to-do. That's solved. You can then move on to issue number 2. Do that as long as possible until you're at time. You want to usually stop about 5 minutes before you get to wrap up. And from there, you're going to conclude the meeting. And so you recap your to-do list so that everyone knows their marching orders for the week. High-level recap there. You make sure that there are any messages that you need to cascade to any other teams or departments. And then you rate the meeting. 1 to 10, how did we do? Listen, if we started on time, if you ended on time, you solved a bunch of great issues, your rocks are on track, that was a 10. That was a really great and productive use of our time. If you're not going to give the meeting a 10, offer some feedback. That was a 9 for me because we went down a rabbit hole, or this happened during the meeting, and I think we can get better there. Give some feedback so that as a team, you can level up the quality of those meetings. Hopefully that helps you run a masterful level 10. Reach out if I can help.